your view, what are the most important sectors for the drone industry?
Talking of drone manufacturing, immediately there were drone rules in 2021, if you recall. Now that has changed the landscape. In my view, has given us the ecosystem, how India can become Atmanirbhar in the drone technology. That the drone technology will be developed by the Indians for Indian requirements. Also, that could be exported across the world.
What are the evolving threats and opportunities as well that you see?
Vision of the Honorable Prime Minister, we have Viksit Bharat roadmap, we all are working on the same. But I personally believe that every functional unit of the government at federal level, at the state level, should have capability perspective plan.
I have to ask you, sir, that what would be your message to the next generation of drone enthusiasts, technocrats, and innovators?
The vision of the Prime Minister, the vision of the Home Minister is every Indian should himself or herself feel I'm safe and secure. Within 4-5 years' time, I think drone will become necessity for family and then later on maybe on individuals.
Wow.
Whether it is your medicine needs, whether it is your food needs, whether your shopping needs, I think it has such a huge potential.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Tech Udan. This is me, Supriya, with you. This is a podcast that's about drones and technology and how they're revolutionizing industries like never before. This podcast is brought to you in association with Drone Expo. Very excited to introduce you to our guest today. Joining us today, we have Professor Dr. Bimal N. Patel with us. It's an absolute honor to have him with us on Tech Udan today. He's a professor in international law, Vice Chancellor, Rashtra Raksha University, MHA, Government of India. Professor Patel is also serving as a member of United Nations Law Commission and member of National Security Advisory Board of India. He is an academician, jurist, administrator, and author. So, welcome to Tech Udan. It is such a pleasure to have you here with us. We have a set of questions we're very eager to ask you today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Supriya. This is going to be first of its kind interview in which I would be sharing my ideas, my thoughts or journey as far as how the Rashtriya Raksha University is contributing to the mission of drone technology for our internal security. So I'm very happy that I'll be interacting with for the next half an hour or so.
Wow, that's amazing. So, I would like to start with the fact that, drones are now at the center of India's technological leap, if I may say so, and from agriculture to defense. Now, in your view, what are the most important sectors for the drone industry? Because it still feels like that we have a long way to explore with this technology in many, many sectors.
So let me give you an anecdote.
Mm-hmm.
So back in 2021, during the COVID crisis, this university started an innovation on drone. Two brilliant ITNs, one was Vasu Jain, but very interestingly, a runaway student, a runaway child from Delhi. Somehow he came to RRU and this team worked under the guidance of one Mr. Kunar Ray, and they developed absolutely indigenous developed drone at Rashtra University. We had a number of test runs and that showed us the potential. And at that time, we had a number of questions because whether it's funding, whether it's tech, whether it's hardware, whether it's design. But this team was so much enthusiastic and they said, yes, Bimal sir, we would like to prepare absolutely indigenous developed drone, except for the battery because that had to be imported. So that is the journey has started back in 2021. And looking back in 2025, I'm so delighted that not only RRU has developed the first indigenous drone, but also now taking a big plunge into the drone expo, the drone technology. And over the last 4 years, if I may say, we have seen the drone industry grow. So if you look at, while we're talking about drone manufacturing, immediately there were drone rules in 2021, if you recall. Now that has changed the landscape. And to great extent, this drone rules 2021 has, in my view, has given us the ecosystem how India can become Atmanirbhar in the drone technology. So it is very exciting, and one important so exciting about this entire drone technology and the drone field is it is innovation driven, and there is no bar of age or experience. It is, if you're an innovator, if you're good at R&D algorithms, you can really plunge into a child of 10 years old or a gentleman of 50 years old can really work together and develop something which is futuristic. So therefore I'm very excited that the drone is kind of fusion of generations of tech minds.
That's true. The enthusiasm just ends up building a sense of, a kind of skill set, which I feel is ever evolving.
Right.
Because you just don't stop at being a drone trainer. You build on it, you tomorrow become an instructor. And then when you get into the manufacturing side of it, it's a whole different learning game, in my
I agree.
understanding, right?
I fully agree. Yes.
Moving on, we know that India has a rich startup ecosystem, of course, but how do you assess the readiness and the competitiveness of Indian drone startups, particularly on the global stage when we speak of it, especially in terms of R&D or hardware, software and exports as well.
So, as far as the technical competitiveness of Indian startups is concerned, is unmatchable. I can give my own example because having lived abroad for a very long time, the R&D system, which is primarily driven by our IITs, but also newer institutions, including like RRU, gives us a huge hope uh, that the drone technology will be developed by the Indians for Indian requirements. Also, that could be exported
Right.
across the world. As far as the startup system is concerned, we could see across the country, perhaps not in too much of tier 2 and tier 3 cities, but tier 1 cities and to an extent tier 2 such as Ahmedabad, you are finding now the startups coming up the drone. However, I must say that there is a lot of handholding required. When I say handholding, which what means that if, let's say, RRU develops a drone technology or drone instrument itself, we would like that if, because basically primarily the military, the military is a driving force for
Right.
the drone technology. Since the brilliant minds, with all due respect, reside with our the military forces, if those brilliant military engineers would prepare our reasonable cheap R&D, which can be passed on to the universities like RRU, which would find for them the market, and the market can produce on a larger scale the drone. So depending on the size, depending on the price, depending upon the target, etc., etc. Here I give an example. Again, because drone was also born at RRU during the COVID time, but also our collaboration with Indian Navy also was born during the COVID time. Now here, thanks to our Indian Navy, brilliant Navy engineers and technologists, they developed certain items which would be useful for the masses of India to prevent, reduce, and control the COVID menace. RRU and Indian Navy, we have an MOU under which the R&D that was developed by the Navy was passed on to RRU. RRU was holding the IPR, but we reached out to the private industry. Private industry produced the gowns, the mask, and those items which are otherwise very costly for ordinary Indians to buy. And as a result, the Indian private industry produced those in such a big scale, and therefore I am very proud to say that the university was one of the biggest harbinger of product development to product production and reaching out to the masses. So I do see the same prototype or template being followed in area of drone as well. Why I'm saying with confidence? Because RRU has collaboration MOUs with all national security and police organizations. They are they are brilliant security mind setup. They know what are the needs of the society for the internal and external security, RRU can provide them the platform. So R&D which are there can be passed on to RRU at a relatively low cost. Then RRU goes out to the private industry within India, I would say, and they can produce on a much more larger scale. So what will happen? So for an example, the internal security organization might develop particular R&D for, let's say, irrigation purposes.
Right.
We are talking water security. We are talking, let's say, crowd management, which is very important. We are talking of, for example, as Honorable Prime Minister also, the flying drone for medicine purposes.
Yes.
Very importantly, where we are looking into coastal security, where we have the mandate. We are often facing the problems of drowning, or the seafarers or small seabaits or dhows, which are carrying drugs and prohibited items. Now, what we could do if our organizations prepare this R&D, pass it on to RRU, we can go to the industry and we can do hand holding. And if they produce on a larger scale, then not only the Indian market itself will absorb, but also we will have excellent potential, because R&D, which is context specific, environmental specific, like India and developing countries, and um, exploiting or harvesting um, the reasonable cheap cost labor, the raw material which we have available in Indian markets, I think drone can be a really big game changer, particularly for the internal security purposes.
Yeah, the way you put it, it actually sounds really important to actually have that channel to the industry to also get that relevant information, make them aware,
Yes.
and then build accordingly so that,
Yes.
And priority being the nation's safety, of course, it just is a benefit for everybody that way.
Here in this regard, I can give you a couple of examples. One particular organization wanted to have particular set of drones. So that organization approached RRU, and since it was so specific, and importing of such drones would be extremely expensive, besides IPR and the R&D. So what we did, had this organizations, brilliant engineers coming to RRU, staying at RRU, and in collaboration with the particular organization, we reached out to private industry. A private industry developed a very tailor-made drones for the organization, which were now later on being deployed by the organization in particular terrain, because we are talking internal security situations.
Right.
And I'm extremely happy that this model has really worked very well. Similarly, some time back, because Chhattisgarh, we know about left-wing extremism,
Yes.
the geographical terrain, etc. Now here, I'm very grateful to Chhattisgarh DGP and the entire team. They sent us the team of police officers, and they stayed at RRU, and they said these are the problems and how these problems can be tackled by using the drone which are specific to our requirement. Because the drones which are required for Chhattisgarh problems are different than from Rajasthan or Gujarat.
Of course.
So what we did, ma'am, is that we allowed them to stay here. We had private industry with us. They worked out the R&D, the requirements. Now we are going into the prototype phase. Once the prototype is developed, it will be validated in the real environment. And if the Chhattisgarh police, for example, finds them useful, I'm sure it will be very helpful, because, as you know, Honorable Union Home Minister, his mission is to reduce the left-wing extremism, the Naxalwad. And I personally believe that, again, government, industry, and academia partnership, even in this drone, can be a game changer to tackle real problem such as Naxalism.
Of course. It also sounds like RRU is being such a, field, a channel that is coming up with many, a very problem solving attitude. It in itself is being quite the innovator out there and not hesitating from collaborating with private industries as well, which in turn is, not building many boundaries. There's so much scope of learning and, flourishing further
Sure.
for everybody's benefit. That is truly commendable, I have to say. Moving on, RRU teaches everything from drones to cyber law to psychology, which is very interesting. And of course, many more futuristic aspects. You've given some example to us as well under these different verticals. Now, how do you ensure that the university stays future ready, and of course with such a wide range of fields to deal with?
Um, I would say we are future ready not only for 2025, but we are also ready for 2047. So that is the enthusiasm, that is a commitment and courage me, my faculty, and my students have. Let me give a few examples. Um, let's talk with drone. So my defense school, in collaboration with private industry, but also with our security organizations, are closely working not only to develop R&D, but to give hands-on training so that my own students can prepare the prototype and also later on be employed in the assemblies and manufacturing of the drone.
Right.
So we are very happy that a number of private industry, among others, Reparo, they are partnering with us. And thanks to Niti Aayog, we have Patel Innovation Center, which is exclusively, among others, focusing on the drone technology, drone park. In this regard, since we are talking drone, since RRU has the BGCA certification, RRU organizes for our security organizations and forces drone training which is very specific to them. So the 5 days training will be given the general, but the last 3 days will be given as per the requirement of, let's say, border security force or ITBP, or let's say intelligence or army. So we do a very tailor-made drone training programs for our forces. So that is my defense school. In example of, let's say, sports. Now in sports, RRU has the India's and South Asia's first Bharat Olympic Research and Education Center. We recently organized International Olympic Research Conference here. We brought a lot of experts, those who are actually influencing and shaping uh, the entire Olympic education research in the world. They were all here. So you could see that when India is planning to, as Honorable Prime Minister has announced, for 2036, hum karenge. So we are actually ready for 2036. You mentioned rightly about our forensic science, and I'm very proud to say that um, our behavioral science and forensic investigation school is much ahead of the time. For an example, the students of these schools, they are having experiential learning in collaboration with the Supreme Court Judicial Authority plus Gujarat Legal Service Authority and Home Department of Gujarat. The students and the faculty of RRU are actually helping the prison inmates, the prison officers, so that the correctional administration vision of the country, the Prime Minister, the Home Minister, gets visualized. What they do while we are sitting here in a very comfortable uh, conference hall, at this very hour, RRD students and faculty and researchers are in the jails of Samarwati, Ahmedabad, Rajkot, Vadodara. They're actually helping the prison officials, they're talking to the inmates, and in the process, they're learning how the entire prison administration system is functioning and how those experiences of prison they can bring it to the class and what are the new things happening at the globe so that the prison administration, the reforms can be implemented. And I'm extremely grateful to the government of Gujarat and the Home Department in particular because of this collaboration. Now, other uh, jails across the country, they said, can RL help? Because who would like students sitting with jail inmates and the prison officers? It is unthinkable. Why I'm saying this thing? Because as the economy grows, the crime rates, we all hope that doesn't grow commensurate with that. But at the same time, in order to prevent, reduce, and control the crimes, and also to ensure that our jails are, completely in line with the vision, but also take care of their human rights, their human dignity, because this is what everything is about. So the students will actually shape. So we are preparing the professional cadre. I'm using a professional cadre which is nowhere in the country. So tomorrow, when the jail administration of the entire country will say we would like to recruit, instead of ordinary police being deputed in the jail, it will be a professionally trained student who will be assisting, preparing the plans, managing the jails, ensuring that the human dignity of everyone is respected. And again, India shows, in my view, that yes, we do have problems, but we are working on everything. So that is what we are making the country future ready. I just give you three examples, but there are number of other schools of RRU. In every sense of the term, we are much ahead of the time.
I feel like the exposure given to RRU students, the preparedness is fantastic. It's really, thank you for sharing that. That's really, really wonderful what RRU across India is doing with every specific university that you have. Moving forward, so how do you see drone technology specifically intersecting with India's internal security challenges, which of course is one very important point to kind of, elaborate on. What are the evolving threats and opportunities as well that you see?
First of all, I would say that under the guidance of the Home Minister and the Minister of Home Affairs, and pardon me for my ignorance, but we can have a capability perspective plan. Like any big nation in the world, in order to ensure that they remain supreme in the world, they do have this capability perspective plan. Um, India, thanks to the vision of the Honorable Prime Minister, we have Viksit Bharat roadmap. We all are working on the same. But I personally believe that every functional unit of the government at federal level, at the state level, should have capability perspective plan. To very specific, as far as drone is concerned, of course, we do have plan up to 2040, which is integrated combat aerial system plan, which is there.
Right.
But I personally see that if you would have um, drone roadmap for 2047, we would know the projections, we would know the threats, we would know the competitors, we would know the inflection points, right? So a group of, let's say, 10, 15 academicians, technologists, industry, and people from the forces sitting together, preparing a blueprint of uh, 25 ages, facts and figures based on the algorithms, and saying, yes, this is where we are, this is where we have to be, these are the things we have to buy, these are the technologies. How, for example, if India will not be able to develop technology, how other countries will surpass India, and what cost India will pay in terms of unavailability of reasonable drone technology
Right.
in mitigating its security threats. So capability perspective plan is number one. Number two, uh, let's say whether it's steel framework, whether it's raw material. Now these are the what I'm talking, the hardware and the software. In software, we can be very proud that our IITs and our universities like RRU are able to produce the brilliant minds. They are good, very good at software. We need many more. But I do have certain concerns with regard to hardware. We must focus on the hardware part of manufacturing. And here, if we, and it has two end goals. If we do on hardware, first of all, our manufacturing industry, because in order to become the global power, manufacturing is the area. So we can use our brains which are there in the colleges and universities, put them into the manufacturing, whether it's R&D, production planning, development, etc. And the manufacturing of hardware is very, very important. Otherwise, we might remain continue to depend on the foreign uh, powers, right? Particularly some material, I would say. And we are seeing what is happening in the globe now. So since India itself has the largest market on drone, I would personally believe that in order to be Saksham Bharat, Sashakta Bharat, our dependency on drone shall not only become zero, but rather India has the potential of becoming the largest drone exporter in the world, which is again in sync with the defense diplomacy of the government of India. Um, I'm very happy to tell you that the project which is again Honorable Prime Minister's vision, Drone Didi.
Yes.
This is something we are also very keen, so that this also empowerment. So I do see, because the entire country is talking about women empowerment and national security. Is this the area where we can start? Right? So if imagine that women are empowered, are given training, which we are giving already in the drone, um, don't be directly absorbed. And I do personally see that in no time, the government would start making direct recruitment. I'm using a direct recruitment of drone specialist, because we are talking cadres. So like जैसे पुलिस में होता है कांस्टेबल पीएसआई पीए वगैरह,
हाँ जी.
so we would have the same kind of thing, no? So if we would have this cadre, this is very, that is where India is heading for. And I think the universities like RRU, together with the industry, private industry, we can play important role.
No, that's truly commendable. And honestly, Drone Didi is a very interesting initiative, and we can't wait to see it unfold even more in the
Yes.
near future.
Yes.
This is something I hate saying, but we're heading to the final few questions. This obviously is a conversation I don't want to end, but I have to ask you, sir, that what would be your message to the next generation of drone enthusiasts, technocrats, and innovators who are listening to us or watching us right now?
As much as mobile has, we can't live without mobile,
Yeah.
right? Within 4 5 years time, I think drone will become necessity for family, and then later on maybe individuals.
Wow.
Whether it is your medicine needs, whether it is your food needs, whether your shopping needs, I think it has such a huge potential. Um, and particularly in the field of internal security, I can see that every single aspect, and safety and security, we all are take safe and secure India.
Yes.
The vision of the Prime Minister, the vision of the Home Minister is every Indian should himself or herself feel I'm safe and secure. Now, if he is exposed to the benefits of drones, and if and since the government is creating that ecosystem, he would have they would have the menu. For example, as I said, if I'm going to a beach, I'm liable thinking, right? I'm not able to swim. Now, is it possible that I can talk to uh, a vendor who is just having some drone hovering around a beach,
Yeah.
and say, well, look, if I'm going to the beach and if something happens to me, is it possible that you throw same life jacket?
Correct.
All right.
Yeah.
Now he doesn't have to bother the government for that purpose, right? Government is there.
Yeah.
But this is something my private drone um, industry can do it for me.
True.
Does it need a big industry? No. Even I think those coastal areas of India where we have beaches, we have a lot of tourists. Those the villagers. So let's say, for example, if RRU or university like RRUs and IITs train our youth in the coastal villages, they prepare these drones, very very small purpose, and let them helicopter the government fly down so to save a life. But here I could clearly see that yes, now I can still go to the beach, I can swim, knowing perfectly well that my safety and security is in my hand, because there is vendor out over there, and he would connect with the government machinery. Should anything unforeseen happen, I'm going to be saved. These are the kind of, and these are the kind of small solutions which we can develop. I give an example of Gujarat again. Gujarat is known, I'm a number of other states as well, for step well, right? Where there is Adalat step well, which is the second largest visited places in Gujarat. Similarly, we have 5 such step wells, right? One is very close to where we are sitting, just a few kilometers, and which Honorable Prime Minister inaugurated a long time back. Now, is it possible by using this drone, we can ensure the heritage of India? Isn't it very important? So, for example, if tomorrow the Home Ministry asks that India would like to develop a touristic place, and people would like to come and see only that staple, which is, you know, were used for water preservation, which is very important need, internet secure need. Now, if we have the drones, and if the drones maps, the whereabouts, the cleanliness, um, the aesthetic of all these whales,
Yeah.
well, we can showcase. And for that, you don't need a scientist, right?
Mm.
What you could do, those people who are living near those step whales can be trained.
Right.
And I'm talking youth from the rural areas. And if they're trained, they can even watch, and then they can send the report, so we can make sure that if there is any repair maintenance required of these step wells,
Mm-hmm.
we are we can quickly reach them. So I clearly see there's a huge possibility to connect between the youth of villages or youth of rural India, I would say, the tech institutions, and also the industry. And I personally believe that industry, such as Tech Mahindra and I'm not a social media guy, but sometimes when I get the news, I feel like these are the kind of models which we really can create.
Right.
Yes.
Like when you speak of the possibilities, and especially how you mentioned coastal areas and beaches, suddenly I thought of how guided tours could be a thing using drones, live guided tours, which is something quite the possibility. We are coming up with such innovative ideas in this podcast with Sir here. It is amazing. Moving on, Sir, Drone Expo is quite the initiative. It's trying to be the center point of all things drone in India. What are your views on it?
I'm absolutely delighted that the vision of the university in the field of drone is coming to realization, because the drone expo which is taking place in Hyderabad next week would bring all the security and police organizations from across the breadth and width of nation. Number one, it will bring the private industry, it will bring the startups, it will bring the institutions, it will of course bring the students, but very importantly, it will also bring the potential users of the drone.
Right.
Because I would go as an onlooker and see what it can mean for me. In other words, the drone expo which is taking place would be supply driven. What country is now able to supply? And very importantly, it will be demand driven, in the sense visitors who will come and see, oh yes, drone can also solve my problem. Yes, I can also use drone for XYZ purpose. So it will provide the platform which would be very, very open, candid, and there both the supply and the demand stakeholders will come together and explore the future of drone industry in the country.
Right.
And I'm particularly grateful to our armed forces, our central armed police forces, central police organization, and all our state police organizations for enthusiastically responding to our invitation. And I hope that every state, every CAPF, every CPA, and of course every armed forces do send their senior representatives and deliberate and discuss and talk to the users how drone can help, um, you know, for safety and security of individual, but also the nation as a whole. So I'm very much looking forward to the outcomes of the drone expo, and it will open up in an unprecedented manner the potential of India.
Before we let you go, sir, if you had to define India's leap, in the field of drone technology, what would it be?
The sheer market size within India. Number two, uh, sheer potential which every, whether it's industrial sector, whether it is service sector, or whether it's agriculture sector. So all the three sectors of our economy uh, needs the use of drone. And as we move tech tech India and the vision, I do see that it will be a game changer, and India will again in the field of uh, drone technology, drone manufacturing, drone supply can definitely emerge uh, in no time. And why I'm very, very hopeful, because few years back we are simply talking defense exports. And when Honorable Finance Minister Madam Sitaraman, when she came for convocation on this, she explained to the entire world how India is now exporting the defense arms ammunitions 30,000 crores. And if you look at the roadmap for India to grow, can you imagine? So it was a leap jump. And I do see the same future or even much brighter future for my drone industry. And very importantly, it connects the rural India with urban India, which is very beautiful. I would say the narrative which I'm able to see, the drone helping the entire country to come together.
Truly, that is quite the vision. We really hope this flourishes and keeps growing. The drone industry, the way we are moving forward with the kind of tech our country and the brilliant minds we have are coming up with, keep flourishing, keep growing. Thank you so much, sir, for being on Tech Udan. Such a pleasure. And we really hope we yet again meet and have a more elaborate conversation. And maybe the next time we'll be discussing numbers that are much higher
Certainly.
in terms of the way drone industry is today.
And I can only invite all my drone industry partners, students, academicians, R&D developers, or armed forces and police forces from across the country as well as globe to come and see the enormous potential this university holds in terms of drone technology, drone R&D. And here is the platform which integrates both the international security organizations, and therefore we are looking forward for more and more big news in the drone field. Thank you so much for uh, allowing me to share my ideas and experiences on the drone field. Thank you so much.
Thank you.